Welcome everybody to another live edition of 410 Sports Talk. I'm Glenn Martin. Be joining soon Jimmy Haskell. Just run a little bit behind, but didn't want to keep everybody waiting, so figured I'd jump in here. And of course, DK's in the background making it all work. We got some guests today, got some special guests as we continue to kind of recap and react to the Ravens draft class, as well as their undrafted free agents that they've signed after the draft. And joining us today in just a few minutes, Ravens wide receiver Tez Walker, and then shortly thereafter him, friend of the show, DRAFTPLEX, will be on to give his final take on the Ravens draft haul. They had quite a few picks, certainly at the back end of the draft, and looks like they made the most of them. But we'll get into all that here in just a few minutes as we wait for our guests to arrive. I did quickly want to go over some news and notes that I think wouldn't come as a surprise for Eric DeCosta, but was a bit of a surprise to me in that I thought when Deontay Johnson left the Ravens last year, I thought he left in such a fashion that would make it difficult for teams to want to reach out and sign this guy and add him to their team, because there was obviously a miscommunication between the Ravens and Deontay Johnson, but it looked like his endings of the last three teams, the Ravens, the Panthers, and the Steelers, have all ended poorly. And so I thought that the likelihood of him getting a contract was relatively low. And if he did, that he would get it, towards the beginning of the season, not necessarily right now. But Deontay Johnson, no, he got a deal. It's expected to sign with the Cleveland Browns, sources say. Not sure on the contract details yet and what it means for the Ravens. But if you guys remember, shortly after he was released by us, signed by the Texans, then shortly thereafter released by the Texans, and then the Ravens signed him, but they signed him after the playoffs had started. He didn't have the ability to join us in the playoffs, join the team in the playoffs, which of course they wouldn't want him to after it ended the way it did. But all that did was they guaranteed the rights of Deontay Johnson. Therefore, if he were to sign elsewhere, the Ravens would be due a compensatory pick. So and welcome in, Jimbo.
I was actually going to ask about that. Since he signed after the draft, will we get a pick next year?
We will get a pick. I believe it'll be next year. Yep, it'll be next year. And so, although it was a bit head scratching, like, well, why are they re-signing this guy? Left on bad terms. He can't join the team anyway. Well, this is exactly why. He did it forward thinking and will likely get a comp pick. Now, it'll be a late comp pick. It'll probably be a 6th round pick, judging by, or we'll get the details once we find out the contract. But nonetheless, we've had success in the 6th round in the past. Maybe not a Pro Bowler or an All-Pro, but certainly contributors and guys that can help this team win. The most recent one that I can think of is Geno Stone was a very productive 6th round draft pick, signed a pretty decent contract.
Wasn't he a 7th rounder?
Was he a 7th? Okay, so even better. So 7th. So you can find talent at the back end of the draft. It doesn't have to be a 1st, 2nd, 3rd round pick. So shout out to the Ravens. And look, congrats to Deontay Johnson. I thought he would have trouble finding a new gig. Proved me wrong, and is signing with the Browns, who have 15 quarterbacks to throw the ball his way.
Seriously. It's perfect that he would go to the Browns, right? Because that just adds to the soup that is the Cleveland Browns. But I guess if they're about making headlines, they're certainly making headlines. Plenty of that going on.
No doubt about it. They I don't know what the hell they're going to do. I saw they're not picking up Kenny Pickett's 5th-year option, which I thought was is that what I saw? Like, it's so silly.
Wait, so is he going into his 5th year?
I believe that's the case. DK, correct me if I'm wrong. I thought I read that the Browns have declined the 5th-year option on Kenny Pickett. Now, maybe it was a headline, so maybe I was fooled. But yeah, which is crazy because it feels like he's been around a lot longer.
Okay, so he's going into his 4th year.
So this would be the time when they could decline or accept the 5th-year option. So, man, it feels like Kenny was drafted a long time ago. He's only going into his 4th. A lot has happened to Kenny. But, yeah, they have Flacco. They got Kenny Pickett. They got Shadur Sanders. And, of course, they drafted Dylan Gabriel just before Shadur Sanders. And I think they have somebody else. I believe they have 5 quarterbacks on the roster. So
I thought they had something crazy like 6. Hold on.
Yeah, insane. But either way, none of them seem to be incredibly good. Of course, Joe Flacco is the best of the bunch.
Yeah.
But none of them seem to be exceptionally good.
So it's Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, Shador Sanders, Deshaun Watson, 5. Yep.
Gotcha. Okay.
And Deshaun never plays for them again, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
I think the GM kind of said something to that effect, didn't he? Kind of like this, or not the GM. I think Haslam said something. Yeah. He was like, this was just a swing and a miss or something to that effect. Man, what kind of money you got to say $263 million is a swing and a miss? Dude, Glenn, you know how I am. That's probably the closest I would ever be to doing something I'll regret if I lost $263 million.
Ooh. Yeah, I'd regret that. I mean, there's lots of things I regret.
I might do something I regret if I lost.
Oh, got you. Yeah, I would be. Yeah. What's going on, Nuno? What's going on, KMI? Jonesy, appreciate you coming out.
Funny, in my head, I said KMEE.
You might be right. Carla, welcome in. King Blaze, appreciate you joining us. I think I said Jack Lock. Appreciate you coming out here. Got a lot to get to today, guys. I quickly before we get
excited for Tez to come on, man.
Yeah, and before he does, I just want to quickly throw up some of the initial grades. Again, we're gonna have DraftPlex join us later as well.
I was surprised by some of the bad grades.
Well, some of it is because of the uncertainty around second-round pick Mike Green. We've seen. Let's see. Okay, here we go. We've seen. I saw some reports where they weren't willing to give a grade, or they gave the Ravens a huge knock because of that pick. Which, look, if you're a draft evaluator or a draft grader, I don't think you should be. You should just focus on the player, in my opinion. If you're giving draft grades, you should focus on the player and not all the off the field stuff. So as you can see, there's only one incomplete on this, right? Oh, that actually no, that was not the rate. I'm sorry, that was the Browns.
I'm trying to muddle through this. You know, this makes me think of that game. What was that game called? Mine, the computer game, not Minecraft, right? DK, no, the game used to play back in the day with the bombs and the numbers.
Bomberman, right? Oh no, Minesweep.
There you go. That's what this looks like. Man, I'm aging myself. I think half the people listening don't know what that is.
Maybe not. But I will say the Ravens get a 3.39 overall GPA as these grades get turned into a GPA.
And look, better than that.
Quite a few, I would say. But I think that the bulk of the knocks have come from two spots. Some weren't happy with the middle portion of our draft. Some thought that our third-round pick and fourth-round pick were a bit of a reach. Others disagree entirely. Certainly the Ravens do. But I don't know anyone who isn't, as the players, absolutely saying the first two rounds, it's not even close. The Ravens won the draft. They stole two players that were, picked well beyond where their talent was. Both Malachi Starks and Mike Green were both ranked in every board that I saw as top 20 players, and most had them in the top 15 or 10. And they got both those guys at picks 27 and 59. So right there, you come out the gate, you had a huge lead on the rest of the teams. And while some thought, like I said, that, the middle rounds weren't as good as they could have been, I think if you, depending on who you ask, there's some differing opinions, especially when you talk about Emory Jones and Teddy Buchanan. Those are the two. Third round pick, Emory Jones, the tackle at LSU. Some people have concerns about, if this guy is a long-term answer at at tackle. But most think that he'll do fine at guard, which I think is the expectation. He'll probably be the swing tackle. He'll probably be McCary. I think they're hoping that Emory Jones is the next Patrick McCary on this team, can help out in spots on tackle, specifically right tackle, but mostly is going to be more productive at the guard position. Is this what you expected, Jimbo? When you look at these grades, did you kind of feel that the Ravens were one of the better teams, or were you tell me about what your thoughts are?
Yeah,
they obviously are one of the top teams. Great.
Yeah, I guess I'm a little biased, but can you zoom in here for a sec?
Let me see here.
And I know that.
So they have it's listed in order. So Dallas is better, Raiders, Eagles, Chiefs, Giants.
Are you able to
I'm trying. It's not letting me.
Oh no, all good, all good. Okay, let
Not letting
me
me.
make this full screen real quick because I have a couple
Oh
things.
yeah, that'll help.
Here we go. All right. So one of the things I was going to mention is DK. You can keep us up on the side. That's fine, unless other people need it. It is, really what I see here is, excuse me. Like you said, I saw some knocks against Mike Green for his question marks, but then like you said, from people basically, I saw the biggest knocks were like from Mike to the kicker, a lot of question marks.
Mm-hmm.
But this is my opinion. I'm obviously biased. I think that with the way the board fell from a value perspective and the way and the positions of need that we had, I think this is an excellent draft. Glenn, if you remember, we wanted 2 offensive linemen.
Yeah.
Right? I think we only got 1 D lineman, which we wanted 2.
Yeah, I guess if you don't, if you count,
we got 3 secondary guys.
Yeah. Well, I think we only said we said 1 to 2 D linemen. So I think that checks the box.
1 to 2, and then we said same thing for corner, 1 to 2.
1 to 2. They checked that
2,
box. They got 2.
And we said same thing to safety, 0 to 1.
0 to 1. They got 1. Edge, we said they need 2.
They got 1, but they got 1 heck of 1.
They got 1 heck of 1, man.
That's my preference.
They got 1 heck of 1.
Like what did what's his face used to say when Kobe Bryant wanted to trade? 5 nickels doesn't always equal a quarter.
That's a good point.
The late great Dr. Jerry Buss, right? Jerry Buss, was that his name?
Yep.
But so yeah, I think certainly at the edge position, it's 5 nickels doesn't equal a quarter. So I don't know. I think these grades are a little rough. Like if I look at the teams around us, I mean, I can see the Eagles, the Chiefs. I think the Seahawks had an okay draft. And the Giants, other than their first pick, I mean, they gave up to go get a quarterback that I don't think he's a day 1 starter, but you took him in the first round. I don't think Jackson Dart is a day 1 starter. No. I also don't think that's a shaky ledge to say.
No, absolutely not. And that's why they have Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson on the team. I don't think they want him to be a day 1 starter.
Right. And I don't know how good he's actually going to be. I mean, nobody was glowing about this quarterback class, right? So relative to other first-round quarterbacks that are in the NFL today, so I don't know. And then this is the last thing I'll say. I know this might be an unpopular take. And I also highly value the running back position. The Raiders did take a running back at number 6, so he better be one heck of a back. Now, all things say that he will be. But if I'm not mistaken, isn't he already like a top 5 highest paid back today?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, just by draft position. Yep.
So, I don't know if I just give him a sweeping A.
Right. Well, you got to remember too, Jimbo, if Mike Green doesn't have, well, first of all, if Mike Green doesn't have the off the field issues, we don't get him at 59.
Yeah, no way.
Also, I got to imagine a lot of the negative grades that we did receive were those who were uncomfortable with his off the field accusations and therefore are putting they're using it, having a moral stand on our grades. I think they're negatively impacting the grades because they said, well, all these other teams had the guy off their board entirely. They were willing to pick him. I'm going to give him a knock, even though he's a top 10 talent in the whole draft and they're getting him at 59. So I'm not sure how much I buy into this, but overall being a top 8 team draft grade wise, even with those issues and even with the, some people questioning their middle of the draft picks, I still think 8th overall is pretty damn special. It's interesting. DraftPlex is number 7 or DraftPlex favorite team, Cowboys, number 7. I'm sure he's going to be having a little bit of bragging rights there, Jimbo. He's not used to the Dallas Cowboys getting any kind of good notes when it comes to us, or comes to drafting. But they did get 1 inside linebacker, which we said they needed. They got 1 kicker, which we said they needed. We said 0 wide receivers. That was the case. So, I mean, really, the only thing I would say that we got out and out wrong, I guess we said they'd get 2 edge. They only got 1, but they got a hell of a 1, like you said. So they really checked all of. Now you were kind of hoping they'd get a tight end.
Yeah.
They didn't ultimately get that.
But look, it's about the board too, right? Like the tight ends the 2 that I liked, went higher than I honestly thought that Loveland was going to be around in the second round. I thought the run on edges was going to be more abundant. And higher, pushing him down. So I get it. I'm not not upset by it. Now, I will say this: I'm excited to get DraftPlex's take, Jason's take on our last pick. Right, our last pick. Hold on, let me make sure he was actually our last.
Dellinger.
Yeah,
the guard.
Yeah, I don't know why this kid gives me Bradley Bozeman vibes.
I mean, I thought that was a hell of a steal at the 7th round. I mean, we're going to get...
And if I'm not mistaken, he's much bigger. I mean, he's 6'5", 315 in college.
Yeah, he's not small.
No, this is a big boy, versatile, all SEC. I mean, I don't know everything. I don't know why he was around. Maybe because he's simply an inside guy. But I'm excited for this kid's potential because, you know what?
I'm tripping, Jimbo. I'm sorry. They did draft a wide receiver. They drafted LeJonte Wester. I'm looking at him right in front of my face. And he's potentially our punt returner of the future.
Yeah, this is the kid out of Colorado.
Yeah, man. Yeah. He's a playmaker.
We'll have to ask Shedeur Sanders how if he's good.
We'll give him a ring. Yeah. We'll call Joe because we got Joe's number. Yeah. And Joe will put us on the horn. Well, by the way, I got to get your take. I thought it was pretty cruel. What did you think of these? Was it the son of the defensive coordinator for Atlanta? I mean, dude, he prank called a few guys. He got at least a couple that I remember seeing.
Yeah.
That's pretty brutally cruel, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, remember what happened to Baker, too, and it was his buddies?
Happened to Cooper DeJean last year. So it's happened over the years, but gosh, man, you got to be a real troll to I mean, these guys have been waiting their whole lives for this, Man, that was rough, man.
Yeah. I wasn't feeling too empathetic.
No, you didn't care? Okay. I cared a little bit.
I struggle with empathy.
I thought it was kind of cruel.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's cruel. Like, obviously, if it were my kid, I would feel bad, but...
Right? You'd be bummed out. I think you'd be bummed out.
For sure.
All right, let's see here. I do want to quickly...
Jason's in here, too.
Oh, my man. Okay. All right. Man, I hope we're not having any issues with Tez, man. It's disappointing. I'll blame Jimmy. Jimmy must have said something.
It's always my fault.
Got us blocked. Got us banned. All right, so let's get started here. Welcoming back to our show, a friend and familiar face, and really a legend when it comes to the NFL draft. And he did it once again, as always. He lives up to the hype. Jason Pruett from DRAFTPLEX. Welcome back, sir.
How are you guys?
Doing well,
man. How are you?
We're closing up shop for the year as we usually do at this time, but this will kind of be my last hurrah for the year.
Are you saddened by that, or are you just tired?
Mixed feelings, right? It's a lot of work going into this, as it is every year. I am tired, tired of looking at these spreadsheets, but like getting them ready for next year. But we had a good process this year. Got my number 2 rank on the huddle report. Yeah. Missed by 1 to get a share of the crown, but we'll try again next year.
There we go. Number 2 for DRAFTPLEX. I mean, again, this is why we're lucky to have him. I always say that, and I appreciate your time, Jason. Quickly, before we get started, I couldn't help but notice that we just had I don't know if you saw it. We had a little graphic up that showed kind of the overall grades for all the teams. And coming in number 7, 1 spot ahead of the Ravens, your Dallas Cowboys.
I'll take it with a grain of salt. Like, okay. I think grades are hard because, like, okay, you pick the names, right? And it's all subjective anyway. I kind of had to I was reviewing a little bit this afternoon because we talked about it. I was... we were just talking about what players were off the board, right? I didn't know who ended up where, and now I'm like, oh, that's where, insert name here ended up, right? And there's some drafts I like. I mean, I will definitely admit this: the Ravens had the best draft in the AFC North, for sure.
You like that?
Yeah, that was like no question. I don't know that I only looked at a couple. I looked at ESPN. I looked at Dane Brugler's grades, and it's all relative to who you like and that sort of thing. And for me, It is what it is. It's always somebody's opinion. And I saw you guys talking about it a little bit, like, that you have your own thoughts that go into it, and that determines how well you grade it. And if you everybody's got maybe sort of an agenda, but like to your point, if you're just looking at players and not inserting your personal opinion into it, that's the only way to do it. But I don't know that you can do it without inserting your personal opinion, because it's like, well, I like so-and-so player. They went here at this pick. That's great, right? So, more power to the guys that do that. I used to do it a long time ago, but it just becomes like, okay, all it is just, my opinion, and it's not based in any sort of evidence other than, relative to your board, or maybe what boards you look at, because I saw some stuff about like the consensus boards and whatnot too, and again, that's all just aggregating people's opinions. It's not a source of truth. Right, so yeah,
no doubt. Okay, well, go ahead, Jimmy.
No, I was gonna say, well, let's kind of walk through this, Jason. First off, I mean, I obviously who we took.
I can throw them up, by the way.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I was, not to cut you off, I was pretty impressed after I went back and looked at who the Ravens actually took on day 3, because I was doing the same thing. I was, keeping up with picks, but not necessarily who was going where. And I was like, okay, this is shaping up pretty nice, like basically all the way to the very end, and even with the undrafted free agents that were signed after the draft. So.
So I want to go. I agree with you 100%. It's funny because we were like, "Are they really keeping 4 6-round picks?"
Yep.
Well, they kept 4 6-round picks, and
like they made them all.
Those guys are going to push for roster spots. Is what we estimate here. But I got to go right to the 3rd pick, because I was excited about this, based on what I learned about his. First of all, I saw his tape, and then second of all, I feel like he has some versatility to him. What's your take on Emery and his fit with the Ravens? Not necessarily where they picked him, but what do you see as his role? Like, do you think some people are hoping he slots in at guard? Some people are thinking maybe eventually he becomes a tackle as Ronnie Stanley moves on, and maybe Roger Rosengard moves to left. There's a lot of things happening, and that's a long way from now. But for the short term, do you see him having success if they were to plug him in at guard?
Yeah, that's actually what I looked at him as when I first saw him. I was like, I think he's probably going to be a better guard. He was a right tackle just straight through at LSU. And I thought he was a better guard than Miles Frazier, who was, lining up next to him on the right side there. I think he does have right tackle upside. When I went through my 7 round and kind of got there towards the end, and I was looking at, we talked about, that tackle depth was going to stretch only so far. And I was like, well, there might be 1 or 2 more that get into that 3rd round range. And I was like, I think he can do it. I don't think he goes to the left side at all. So to your point, if you're looking at like kind of down the road, Rosengard would probably be the best option to, swap sides. But I think he's probably going to slot in and kind of compete at guard. Now, again, we talk about this kind of every year. These guys, kind of willy-nilly flip sides. Oh, he's a right, he'll go to left. He's left, he'll go to right. That's always a lot tougher than just, this is where we have the open spot, right? I think he'll compete for either left or right. But I just don't know about long-term the tackle prospects. I think he could compete it on the right side. I just worry a little bit about the quickness. I think he might be a little bit better in a contained area versus trying to kind of set the edge. So
nice. Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Jimbo.
No, my bad. I'm rolling here. This is my next question. I'm going to put you'll answer a lot by saying this in one question. I want to know a lot of information here. The guy that we took in the 7th round, and I'm forgetting his name, also on the same offensive line, LSU kid. Oh, dang it.
Dillinger.
What's his name? Garrett Dillinger. Yeah.
Garrett Dillinger. Yeah.
Who has a better chance at playing guard? Who do you see as a plug and play type guard, sooner for the Ravens? Like this year, if you had to take either Emery or him out, and start one of them, who do you like better than?
I liked Emery better.
Okay.
Dellinger was kind of like one of my last 2 graded like 5th to 7th and not undrafted guards. So he was number 19 on my final positional rankings. I just think he's kind of like a compete for a roster spot versus like compete for a starting job. So,
all right.
Gotcha. Well, that makes sense. He's a 7th round pick. I guess that's kind of what's expected there. Now, quickly, before we move on, I think there's potential that you both could owe me an apology. And here's why. Okay. Where did Ty Robinson go? Who was the Georgia linebacker?
Munden. So yeah, I've got it up in front of me. Ty Robinson was pick 111.
And that's in round
4. That's the top of round 4.
Now I don't remember where I took him, but I caught some grief, and I knew I was taking him at the end. And then Mondin where did he go?
Mondin kind of split the difference between what I thought and where you were going to take him. He was at 161 in the 5th round.
Okay, so maybe not as crazy. Okay.
No, I was very surprised, and admittedly so. Like I even posted. I was like, I'm at risk of owing you an apology because I just didn't see a more athletic linebacker, but we did see a couple of other ones that were a little bit surprising. I think Nick Martin was the biggest surprise because he went in the top 100. He was hurt last year. He's undersized. Yeah. Mel was on that. Mel had him going early as far as on the big board. But, yeah, I mean, we'll see how he turns out. The linebackers were a little bit all over the place. I thought there were a few guys that went later than expected and a few that went earlier than expected. That's why I kind of pointed to, like, we're going to have this log jam of, like, who do you like and for what? And then that could really shuffle where the order was going to be of these guys when they actually went off the board. So, yeah, sorry, Glenn. If you're offended, I know some of your fans
were offended. I saw
some of your fans and or burner accounts were offended.
Dude, it's my burners, bro. I saw Jimmy was like, "Dang." Okay,
I just noticed that Tez is in here too.
Oh, nice, awesome, cool. All right, well let's get Tez in here. I'm kind of curious about some of what these rookies are going to be going through here, and I'm excited and certainly appreciative to get welcome in Ravens wide receiver and going into his 2nd season. So just went through this last year. Welcoming back to the show, Ravens wideout Tez Walker. Appreciate you joining us, Tez. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. I appreciate y'all having me. I'm doing
of course, man. Thank you so much.
Y'all
doing well. Yeah. Now, before we get to the draft, and I do want to get you kind of let fans know what these rookies are going through. You just went through this last season, but before we get there, I got to ask your take on the free agent signing of DeAndre Hopkins. They bring the longtime wide receiver over to the Ravens, and your room got a little more crowded. What was your thoughts on when you saw DeAndre adding to the Ravens?
My thoughts, me personally, I thought it was crazy. There's somebody I watched when he get drafted, 2014. I was 13 years old, so I've been watching him ever since. So, I think he's a good addition to the room. You know, he's been there, done that in this league. We got a lot of young guys between me, Zay, even Bate's not even that old. So somebody who, can give us some pointers, everything he's been through and stuff like that. So I think it's great for the room and this organization.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to that, and I think it'll serve as an opportunity for not only added playmaking, but it's nice to have somebody like that. So yourself and the rest of the room, you guys can ask questions, pick his brain and kind of understand what it is that got him to where he is today. But I know we're going to talk about what these rookies are going through and things, but I got to ask you, man, how's this offseason been? Anything exciting that you're doing different this offseason now that you've gone a year through the league that you're kind of starting to implement? Yeah, man, how's the offseason?
Oh, it's good. Finally got to, rest a little bit, been on the grind since about 2022 now. So it was my first.
Right, it's your first real rest. Huh?
Yeah, so, but it's been good. Feel like I learned a lot from my trainer. I trained with Hakeem Nicks, former NFL receiver down in Charlotte. So, he gave me a lot of pointers and stuff like that. So I feel like my off season been real well. And focusing in on a lot of my craft, like it was nothing but like routes. Like didn't do much speed work. Everybody knows how fast I am and stuff like that. It was just route running every single day. So that's like the big thing for me going into year 2.
Nice. That's awesome. I love that. I think certainly an opportunity to take that next step and start certainly becoming a massive producer, which I think everybody's expecting. And you mentioned Hakeem Nicks. He went to North Carolina. Is that correct?
He did. Mm-hmm.
We'll get to this chat, and then I do have a question. Go ahead. Quan said, now this has been, I saw this question pop up a lot. I don't know if there's controversy surrounding your height, but people are curious. What's your true height here, Tez?
I'm 6'2".
6'2". Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. All right. Yeah. I don't know why that question was popping up. What's his height?
Like, we got random. I was like, dang.
Not sure.
Hey, people got questions, I guess, man.
I guess so. But
people are always curious about my height, too.
Oh, yeah. People are always like 5'5". No, I'm just kidding, Jim. I'm just kidding. But Jimmy did mention before the show, and since you brought up your alma mater and training with guys from there, running back Amarion Hampton was recently interviewed, and he was asked about, and if you guys don't know, he's a rookie this season out of North Carolina, recently drafted by the Chargers, or as we call it, Baltimore West. He said that you were a huge part of kind of helping him know what to expect during this process. What kind of advice did you give Amarion?
I really just told him, like I tell everybody, just be you. You're gonna have, all the scouts, cameras, everything in your face. Like at the end of the day, it's just football, and then you just let the training take over. When you get to the combine, these ball games, everything you've been doing up to this point, that's you just let that stuff take over. And I told him not to, like panic or be nervous about anything. Like he was a 3-year starter. He had enough film to where he was going to be fine regardless. So I just told him, continue to do what you've been doing, and that's what he's done.
Mm-hmm. No doubt about it. What is a rookie going through right now? The draft just ended. I know we've seen some guys showing up at the Castle. Kind of take us through, since you just went through this process last year. The draft ends. Is it lightning fast, like boom, 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 boom? You start moving? Like, what's the process as soon as the draft is
so
over?
I think right now, they all, well, for me at least last year, I don't know if they changed it, but like we was all at home at this time. Like I don't think they get there until Friday to start, like, the physicals and stuff before practice, which is like Saturday or something like that. So that's when like everything starts moving fast. So you get there, you do your physicals, you set up all your stuff, get your playbook and stuff. And then after that, once you start practicing, like everything is moving, everything's all over the place. So that was my experience with it last year, and I think that's what they're gonna get into this upcoming weekend.
And what do you, with that experience, what are you taking from last year? You talked about focusing on route running and things like that, but what are you taking from last year as far as lessons learned and applying this year?
Like what you mean?
Yeah, so whether it's a mindset, whether it's specific, you talked about route running and things you're focusing on, but what are you taking away from last year and kind of using as a place to start this year, right? Like there's I'm sure things you didn't know. Like perspective is everything. I'm sure you came in as a rookie and you learned about a million things. So what are some of those things that you consider most important?
So for me, and I've been thinking about all season, like the attention to detail and just being like intent on everything I do. So like pretty much like when we're doing stuff, knowing like why we're doing it. So like for instance, for example, like say like it's a play and I got a certain route, like I'm asking questions about like why is this, that, or this and that, like pretty much like just knowing the why of like why we're doing it, stuff like that. So just being intent on everything I do, and then like those little details and like just being focused on that stuff. I feel like that's the stuff I kind of lacked in last year. And I was just out there, like I just felt out there, and I didn't feel like, I didn't know why like I was doing certain things. So that's the big thing.
And
do
you have like a set of goals going into your second season? Do you have anything you'd like to make sure you accomplish in year 2?
No, definitely. The biggest thing is obviously getting on the field on offense. Got in a little bit. My main role was like on special teams and stuff like that. But that's my main goal, still finding that role on the offense. My main goal, and it's been my goal since I entered college, is 1,000 yards. I've never been a 1,000-yard receiver. Had a chance, but I probably would have stayed another year at Carolina, but that's like my ultimate goal, being a 1,000-yard receiver, which I think I can accomplish this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And to that point, I know you have your goals, but as you're exiting for the end of the season, and as you're coming back in, I'm sure you're having conversations with coaches and things. This is just an assumption of mine. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but do you guys talk about what they have as a vision for you? And you know, what are those conversations like for those things you're willing to share?
Right. Yeah, I've had conversations with a couple of them. They have you know, some high expectations for me this year. They expect a big jump in year two. I mean, you know, they would tell me I did real good in year one and stuff like that with the role I had. So like I said, that was the main thing. They said they're expecting a big jump. They can see a lot of things I said, like with, you know, coming in, having a marquee role in the offense and stuff like that. You know, some of them agreed, things like that. So that was the biggest thing for them. They're expecting a big jump in year two.
Yeah, we're expecting it too, man. Looking forward to it, man. I'm excited to see you out there.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. And now we see typically as we get closer to camp starting, we will see videos come out of Lamar practicing with other wide receivers. And Flagship Fantasy brings up a good question. Do you plan to have any organized workouts with your teammates before ultimately coming up to Baltimore and joining with the whole team?
Yeah, that's the plan. I know a couple of us were making plans of going down to Florida, like when minicamp is over, you know, getting some in with Lamar and stuff like that. So that's the plan right now.
Nice. Love to hear that. Absolutely. And is Lamar as 1 to 53 as they describe him? We don't get to talk. We don't get to hang out and mingle with the players. But everyone says he's 1 to 53. He'll talk to anybody, top down on the roster. He's just the same guy no matter who he's talking to. Is that the case, Tez?
Yeah, that's 100% the case. Like he's the most one. I would say he's like one of the best football players I've ever seen play, and he's probably the most humblest guy I've ever met. Like he's even killed. Like no matter the situation, whether we're losing, winning, getting blown out, blowing somebody out, he's the same way. Like he never changes. And like you said, he talks to everybody in the roster, everybody throughout the building. You see it all the time. So he never feels like he's above anybody else. That's how he always carries himself.
All right. So I have a question completely unrelated to football. What do you like to do in the off season outside of train and sleep and eat? Right? Like what are you doing outside of that? Do you have outside interests?
I don't have too many playing the game. That's pretty much what I did all day after I trained, play the game. I fished, so I go fishing.
Nice.
That was something I did growing up. And, you know, with the time I had in the off season, I was able to go do that a lot more. So other than that, I don't get into too much stuff. I'm trying to, like, you know, figure out what I like and what I don't like. But other than that, it's always ball with me.
Now, you say like play the game. Are you dropping into Verdansk? What are we doing here, Tez?
You say who?
Verdansk? What are you playing? You play Call of Duty? What are you playing?
Don't. Call of Duty got too many sweats. Like I got off that probably like a year ago. I play Fortnite. I'm able to like defend myself and build. Yeah, I play Fort.
And you play build, not no build. Okay.
Yeah, I gotta play build. I gotta defend myself. I play Madden here and there. Like one of my homies, he's like a Madden sweat. So like when he get on, I get on with him or whatever. NCAA, I play that. Like I played a little Road to Glory or whatever. Just make up, create characters, do whatever with them. That's really it. So the main game is Fortnite, though.
Wow. Okay. All right. Yeah, I try and keep up with my son at Fort. He's 11. Come on. There's no chance. This dude builds a skyscraper.
I probably can't even keep up with him.
Yeah, but he puts up 20 bombs in Warzone, so he's just a freak.
Oh yeah, he different. I ain't even trying to see him.
Yeah, he's crazy. But hey, I got to get your question on Coach Belichick. Back at UNC, were you surprised when you saw that he's taken over the program, especially considering he's not the youngest coach out there? And would you have been all for it if you were still there and Coach took over?
So I say I was surprised just because I'm a Mac Brown guy. He brought me in, so. Yeah. With them saying like he was like how old he was, stuff like that, and then you bring in somebody that's a year younger or whatever,
right? A lot younger, yeah.
Yeah, that was the only thing I was really surprised about. I'm like, dang, but I think it's good for the program, the publicity, and all that. Like, he's a 6-time champion in the NFL. But like, if you win in the NFL, you can win anywhere. Yeah. And then so I went to their spring game, and like the way it seems like everybody loves it. Like I talked to some of the coaches that's still there. They said they're enjoying it. Then like you can see like the difference in the players and like how they're going about like practice. Even like in the building, like with nutrition and stuff like that, how they going about that is even different. So I think he's doing a good job over there. For what I've seen and heard.
Did his girlfriend have a headset and a clipboard and a whistle?
I didn't see her while I
Didn't
was
see her?
down there.
Okay.
Nah, I didn't.
I didn't know if she was running practice because she was running a couple interviews I saw him in lately. I don't know.
I've heard about that, but yeah, I haven't seen her.
Gotcha.
But no, I think it's good. I think it's gonna turn out well there. And then me personally, I would have been all for it. Like, I was one of them guys. My goal is always to get to the NFL. So if I'm like a high schooler or even JUCO or portal guy, I see that. That's like you want that firsthand NFL experience. Like, why not go get it from the 6-time Super Bowl champion? So
arguably the best. Arguably the best, right, Glenn?
He's somebody I would have definitely wanted to play for.
Well, he had Tom. I mean, say that, Jim, but don't start getting me started on Belichick versus Tom Brady and who was the bigger. Don't do it, Jimbo. You know I'm passionate about that.
I know. I'm just poking at you. That's all.
I see you taking full advantage. Well, Asmodeus Thanatos, appreciate your super chat. He says he's look forward to seeing you this season. Hell of a way to start your first snap. You're gonna kill it. And we got to meet Asmodeus, so appreciate.
I definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, we had Dayton out at the show, Tez.
Oh, you talking about D-Wade?
Yeah, man. Dayton Wade out the show, man. It was a good time.
He a character. I love him though. He cool dude. He good dude.
To me, I could be wrong, but I felt like because we hung out with him for like 3 hours. He's like quiet, funny to me.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Like he's not the loudest guy in the room, but when he says something and you hear him, it's funny.
Nah,
he laughs a lot.
Yeah. Like y'all gotta see him on the field, dog. Them practices be hilarious. Like he's the most like random dude ever. Like it's just funny. Y'all have to see it to know what I'm talking about.
You'll have to fill us in sometime for the stuff that's allowed off the practice field, of course.
Yeah. Some stuff got to keep secret. But I also heard a lot of people comment like, that's an NFL player. They couldn't believe his stature. And I said, that's the beauty of the NFL. I mean, you got
they all
players
different
of all
shapes and
sizes.
sizes.
Yep.
All different.
Yeah, because he's probably still a little taller than Zay, I think, right? Like they're probably similar in stature.
Honestly, I've never paid attention to him, but I won't.
Jimbo, when you're 6'2",
they are similar in stature, like you said, though.
Look, Jimbo, when you're 6'2", like me and Tez, look, all you short guys fall into one category. Okay?
Well, it's funny, Glenn, because the exact same thing happens to me. Like I only recognize the dudes that are shorter than me because, like, not many people are shorter than me. So, like, right. I'm just used to everybody being taller than me. And I see a dude that's short, I'm like, wait, what? Hold on a second here.
Well, before we let you go, last question here, Tez, and I appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us.
Definitely.
Malachi Starks, I know, you probably don't, watching the scouting and all that stuff on him, but I'm sure you know him and you've heard of him. You're now going to be playing against him, at least in practice every day. What kind of player do you think the Ravens added in Malachi Starks?
So a lot of people probably don't know. I played him when I was at Kent State when we played Georgia. He was in on that clip. I ran that screen to the house. So
gotcha.
But
he was chasing,
from what I've seen from him, I think we're getting a great player. Like, I think he's going to make a big difference as soon as he steps foot on the field on Sunday. He's somebody you can tell like he's dialed in to like everything out there on the field. Like being a part of that defense, he's probably seen everything already. So the league probably ain't gonna be really nothing new to him. I think we're getting a great player, great athlete. So
love that.
Yeah, man. We're so excited to see you as the season, inches closer, the off season and otherwise. We'll be sure hopefully to link up with you again soon. We won't take up your whole evening, but thanks so much for hopping on. We appreciate it. And we'll catch up soon, man.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I appreciate y'all having me on here. Yeah, anytime y'all need me to, I'll hop on.
Appreciate
Twitter,
it.
like Twitter. I don't the direct message of Twitter. I don't be paying attention to them.
Well, Tez, why don't you just slide us the digits, okay? And that sounds weird saying it like that, but just or send us some other way to get in touch.
I definitely do that though for sure.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, because we'd love to have you out at a live event. I know the fans would love it, and it's a great time, man. You'd love it.
Nah, that's cool with me for sure.
Cool.
All right, Tez. Well, have a good.
All right, man. Have a great evening.
I appreciate it. Y'all have a good evening.
You too.
Yeah, same.
Man, awesome. So appreciate Tez coming on. Jason, thank you for hanging out.
Yeah,
I appreciate you. But yeah, man, We got some good. That's why the Ravens, the number one thing, you got to be a good dude. And everybody we've ever had on, past, present Ravens, they're all good dudes. So we can see why the Ravens prioritize that in their draft process. But Jimbo, I want to get back to the draft here, and I want to ask you, because I think the biggest head scratching pick for most people was the 4th round pick, linebacker Teddy Buchanan. A lot of people said they thought, oh, this guy would be here. He'll be here later in the draft, but then I heard other people saying, well, wait a minute. I just don't think y'all watched enough of Teddy Buchanan, because he's actually a pretty damn good athlete and he can really run. So I want to get your take, the opinion I trust the most. What would the Ravens get in Teddy Buchanan? What kind of player is he? And was this a reach at pick 129?
Yeah, so the question I'll ask is, whose board were you looking at?
Yours.
Not yours.
If not mine, because I had him as a 4th round player.
Right.
And a lot of people, at least the ones that I kind of looked at, liked him maybe a little better than I did.
Nice.
I had him at 13 in my linebacker stack. And so right around this range, and that was one of the players I saw. I was like, oh, so the Ravens got Teddy Buchanan. So really productive linebacker, 1 year production at Cal. He was at UC Davis. So he kind of just stepped right in, tackles, sacks, tackles for loss, has some ball skills, 8 interceptions actually at UC Davis before he transferred.
Wow.
So kind of an all-purpose linebacker there, good athletic profile, good size, 6'2", 235. Combine was nice. I think that's where he kind of got on the map for a lot of people, 4'6", 40-inch vertical, I think a 10.5 broad jump, and then 26 reps on the bench. So he kind of checked every box there at the combine. As a player, I think kind of reactive, rangy. Like you hear that phrase kind of sideline to sideline. That's usually reserved for the guys that are even faster, but he's got good range. I think he's real solid against the run and in coverage. And then again, another high character guy, team captain. So kind of fits that, that Ravens mold there. I think really the only kind of downside, doesn't quite have the length. I think his arms were like 31 inch and change. So he can get kind of caught up in traffic sometimes, but if you get him, get things kind of lined up in front of him, he's kind of see ball, get ball. So between that, obviously level competition, only having that 1 year in the FBS, that's really the only thing probably that kind of kept him further down the board. But I mean, he was one that kind of towards the end I was thinking about. He's got a chance to break into the top 100. Obviously he didn't, because I don't see exact pick where he went, but he was kind of like your chalk pick in the 4th round, which would have been what, kind of like 129, right? So that was kind of right where I would have put him. In not getting out of the 4th round and being kind of in that logjam of linebackers, but I think he's got a chance to be one of the better ones. And I think, depending on how things shake out at the linebacker position, obviously we talked about a few other ones, like he could come in and kind of compete, I think, with Trenton Simpson to have that starting role.
Damn.
Yeah,
and
that's
Jimbo,
what
I think, yeah, I'm going to kick it to you, Jimbo. They lost Malik Harris and he lost Chris Board. And I think fans were worried because it didn't look like Trenton was ready. But I think Teddy, at the very least, will be a huge special teams contributor day one.
Yeah,
and it sounds like he's going to compete. Man, it sounds like they got a steal here, Jimbo, or at least better than a lot of people were saying.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm excited to see what this kid can do because, to your point, Jason, I think he does a lot of things that Trenton Simpson maybe doesn't do. I think the way that he views the game, I think he has a chance to have a shorter runway and pick it up, make that transition a little quicker, where I think Trenton, we realized, kind of got thrown into deep waters a little bit last year, and we kind of had to scale it back, which is really the only way you find out. You got to give him the reps. But I think that was a direct response to that. This is not a knock towards Trenton Simpson or anything like that. You've got to add to the room. But I do think that, like you said, Teddy's got a good chance to make the beginning of his career out of being the running mate to Roquan Smith.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about it because, like you talked about, his versatility, his athleticism. I mean, Roquan got knocked last year for not being as rangy, for seemingly to have lost a step, at least at the beginning of the year. I think that he can, once again, they can mutually benefit from one another's presence. And I'm looking forward to it. But, the other thing I wanted to ask about was, can you go up one, Glenn? Where did we take our D tackle?
That was down. Yeah, that was down.
Yeah. So,
a lot of love.
Yeah. So Peebles, right? Anyway, I saw some other boards where they were not expecting him to be here. Were you surprised that he was here? And did you think this was a solid pick for the Ravens at this point?
Yeah, I posted about this when y'all took him in the 6th round. He was a fringe top 100 player for me and was in there until I did my last one. Wow. The only thing about him is the size, because he's undersized. He's like right at 6 feet tall, like 282 pounds. So he's really kind of fits that 3 technique, up the field, interior disruption kind of player. So it's kind of an interesting fit for the Ravens because y'all typically go for the bigger, longer, kind of nose and 5 technique type, kind of 3-4-ish type guys. And this is not one of those guys. So I'm really curious to see how this works out. But as a prospect, I really liked him. I thought top of the 4th, just really disruptive, high motor, a lot of juice. If you get him kind of one gap, that's where he's going to kind of make his hay. So I'm not sure about the fit, but I think once you got to kind of that position, it's like this guy's too good to not have him taken off the board here. So I really like the pick. I actually thought that was probably the best value pick outside of, Mike Green getting down into, late in the 2nd round, which we talked about Friday. So yeah, that was one of my favorite picks in the draft, just because I thought so highly of this player heading into it.
Yeah. Nice. And I mean, right there, 91.2 true pass set grade, or pass rush grade, and a 17% pass rush win rate is absolutely insane. So at the very least, he might only be a pass rush specialist for us initially, and that might be what he always is for us. But that's okay, because 3rd down is when you need to get off the field, and you want a guy like Peebles, who I think is going to be a disruptor from the interior on 3rd downs early on. So he doesn't have to play the run on 1st or 2nd down. Bring him in for pass-only downs and let him, just turn him loose to the quarterback.
I guess my only question is, I guess there are guys that do that from in the interior, but even the pass specialist, he'll have to find a way to stay on the field on other downs, right? And maybe
I don't think he's can't play the run at all, but you do have some concerns about the size. Obviously he's not an Aaron Donald. He's not even a Kalijah Cansey, from the Bucks, who was kind of the best example from a physical profile of who fits this kind of, we talked about the comp. I didn't really comp him, but I was this is a comparable player who's probably not going to go as high because he's not quite has for I think sack production. I think he had 5 sacks. So it's decent, but not great. I think Cansey had quite a few more than that and ended up going the 1st round because he was just a unicorn for a smaller guy doing what he was doing. But I don't think he's completely helpless against the run either. I think his quickness will help him kind of, impact, and get into the backfield and be disruptive on that, not just on the passing downs.
Well, that's exciting to hear. Certainly. Got good players with Travis Jones, Matabike, Brody. Got a lot of guys on the interior, but did lose some talent as well, and certainly need to replace that. I think I took this guy, or you stole him from me, and I wanted to take him, but I had Robert Longerbeam in almost all of my mocks. I can't recall if I got him in the one we did on air, but I know you were a lot higher on Longerbeam than a lot of people were, and man, I think they got in. He's got good length. He ran well. Tell us about Robert Longerbeam and how long do you think before this guy could compete and contribute?
Yeah. Kind of undersized, which I think is really the only reason. Like you said, the length is good, but I think he's light and he's small, but a lot of production. So I had to go back and look this up. 42 passes defense in the last 4 years at Rutgers. The size might dictate that he's kind of a slot only. So, he's been on the outside in college, but might have to make that transition. The speed is obviously great, 4.39 40 at the combine. Instincts and toughness. And like you said, the size will probably be the only thing that kind of gives him challenges. And I think there are probably some things he's got to clean up. Otherwise, he would have gone a lot higher. Obviously, a lot of that is dictated by the size. You're out there battling with tougher receivers, maybe getting a little handsy to kind of keep your position. But you like the football IQ, you like the intangibles, obviously probably a really hard worker and will do what it takes to kind of secure a spot. So, I think there's definitely some upside there. And I had him about in this range too. I thought he was more like 5th to 7th. So that's where I had him. And he was among kind of my last kind of group within that stack of the cornerbacks, but I figured that he would be drafted somewhere on day 3. So,
gotcha. Okay. Hey,
Yeah,
Jimbo.
Yeah.
Could this guy be? Look, we love Dayton Wade, and we want Dayton to get his shot at kick return.
I know. It's exactly what I thought.
But LeJontay Wester has some really special-looking highlights, and I can't recall exactly off the top of my head, but I know he averaged something like 15 to 17 yards per punt return. How long? Is LeJontay, do you think, going to get an opportunity earlier because of that punt return ability, and that's maybe where we're going to see him long before we see him on offense?
Yeah, I think that's his ticket. I think he's small and light, and there's only a couple of guys I think that are even on rosters of that, 5'9", 165, 170-ish. So the percentile is very low. And as far as a receiver, he was pretty much a slot only, which, at that size, you kind of expect that.
Yeah.
But yeah, speed, acceleration, that's his game, ability to separate, and the values in the return game, right? Obviously, he did that at Colorado. That's how very few guys on my board that I kind of give that designation of kick returner. The reason why this guy would get drafted is probably because of the kick return ability, and he was one of them. And as a receiver, I think that the size is probably a detriment, but the kick return value is why he got drafted. So that will be where maybe the preseason gets fun. Mm-hmm. So that's where the decision gets hard, right? But at the very least, obviously, I think practice squad is probably, an option for a couple of these guys. You mentioned Dellinger, the guard. Mm-hmm. He also needs to stay healthy. That's the other thing. Somebody mentioned in the chat, and that was something I looked up. I really just watched the tape and didn't kind of check everything because I was kind of slotted him. I was this is probably where he's going to be. And then he had one full season at LSU, and that was it. And a pretty lengthy injury history of this, that, and the other thing. So, yeah. Those guys, you never know. The talent could be there, but if you can't stay healthy, your availability is your best ability when it comes to keeping a roster spot. But yeah, as far as going back to Wester, that will be where he's going to compete.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now we kind of skipped Carson Vincent, and Tyler Loop has got an absolute boot on him, right? we know that. So let's talk about Carson Vincent here. Small school kid, and that was actually the knock that I saw from a few people about the Ravens draft, were the small schools that I think right before him. Who went before Vincent, Glenn?
It was after.
Buchanan. Yeah, I think you're thinking of Bilal Cohn from Western
Michigan.
Okay.
Yeah, well, for sure. You got Alabama A&M, Western Michigan, and people weren't super excited about that. I think the Ravens have done well in small schools, but what's your take on this guy? What was the way you looked at him coming into the draft? Do you see him playing tackle in the NFL?
He's definitely a tackle.
Okay.
Developmental left tackle, obviously coming from Alabama A&M, but he has size, he has length, he kind of has one of the better frames, I think, of all the tackle prospects in the class. If you were to look at the prototypical kind of size you want, I think he's 6'7", 315. I think he can add some more a good mass, like 34 something inch arms.
Mhm.
He actually comes with a lot of experience at that level. So 48 college starts. But again, that you got to take that with a grain of salt level competition. But he was at the Senior Bowl. I think he flashed a little bit. The physical tools, I think, are all there to work with. But he's going to need some seasoning, hand usage, kind of overall technique, right? Things that he probably hadn't been coached up to, with up to this point. But he's also got a little bit of a mean streak, so it's kind of like an enforcer type. So I think you kind of want to like that there. But yeah, he's definitely a tackle and definitely somebody that, a year or two down the road could very well, be giving you meaningful snaps there, probably on the left side. I think he's got all the tools to kind of find a spot there.
Yeah, it feels like the difference between him and Emery feels like, okay, definitely going to be best at guard, but if he has to play tackle, he's going to play the right side, and Roger would flip over to the left if need be in the event that Stanley goes down. Whereas it sounds like it's completely different, where Carson Vincent, project player, very much so, and not going to be ready for a couple years, but he might be, if he develops how they hope, the left tackle of the future, or at the very least, a swing tackle of the future. Is that kind of how you're putting it on?
Yeah, I think they're both good examples of kind of like Emory Jones is like your high floor type player, and then Carson Vincent's your high upside player. So the ceiling for him, taking him in what, the 5th round, that's what you're kind of looking for, is like a couple years down the road. Could he be a starter for us, or like you said, at the very least a swing tackle? I think he's got that kind of ability.
Love that.
Well, let's hope so. I still think, my after this draft, my concern leaving the draft is simply, what do we do at guard, right? I guess not as much of a concern, but a question, right? Like,
yeah,
we've been talking about
it's going to be Falele. I hate to say. I mean, Emery might be able to take out the right guard spot from him.
I think Emery can compete.
Yeah, but it looks like at left guard it's Voorhees, so get used to it.
Now, I'll draw your attention to one player that I kind of liked of your undrafted is Jared Penning from Northern Iowa. Left tackle, probably is going to play guard. He's the brother of Trevor Penning on the Saints, who has kind of had an up and down career there, but apparently had a little bit of a resurgence last year. So he's another name to take note of. Not going to say he's going to be competing for a starting job, but like he could come in, have a good camp, and maybe find his way in that mix of the room there. At the very least, probably like a practice squad type player.
Well, I have that list up, and I want to get to it in a second, but we did not get your take on Bilal Kone out of Western Michigan. Well, I think a lot of people are excited. Oh, it's quickly. I just noticed Oakland Trap House says, love the amount of starts and energy he has under his belt. Assuming he's talking about Vincent. And yeah, I mean,
he says Emery.
Oh, Emery. Emery hasn't. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I mean, looks like he played a lot of football at LSU and gets reunited with his teammate Dellinger here in Baltimore. And we're excited to see what he's got. He's certainly going to be competing at right guard, and then will likely be the default replacement if something, God forbid, were ever to happen to Rosengarten, because McCary's no longer here. But Kone, I'm kind of surprised. Like I feel like you were a little higher on him, if I remember correctly, as well. Is it just the small school thing? What kind of player is Kone? Is he an inside, outside? What are they getting, and did they get him at a good value?
Yeah, I had him at 20 in my cornerback stack, but he was solidly in that 4 to 6 round range. So, at least where I'm looking, again, I take vertical board with a grain of salt, because that's one ranking of everybody that's in the draft. You're not ranking for 32 teams. You're ranking vertical board and just stacking players. There's value to that, right? But I saw him early on. I think I only bumped him down because I thought about a couple of other players we talked about, like Hancock. I know Upton Stout was getting a lot of steam at the end and actually went in the first 100 picks. I think he might have been 99 or 100. Kone is a height, weight, speed kind of cornerback, so again, you're kind of more of a traits-based pick, but he has production too, right? So he's not just, a guy that tested well or anything like that. 70 tackles this past year. So, he'll stick his nose in there, 9 pass breakups, and then also a pick. So, he's going to be like a perimeter corner. I think he was like 6'1", 190, so a little lean. But he has kind of experience in like zone, man, and press. And then, just really, I think instinctive and competitive. Again, with these guys at this range, there's stuff to clean up and like technique to develop. But he's another guy that you get into the mix. Probably would be like a fourth or fifth corner, like kind of in a reserve role, probably special teams. But I like that pick too. Like I thought he probably would have been a consideration in more of the fourth round, fifth round range, and you get him at the top of the sixth. So I think that's a good value there.
All right, so Jason, I want to summarize this draft this way.
Mm-hmm.
In your estimation, right? Nobody's going to hold your feet to the fire,
Mhm.
but outside of Starks, Green, and Tyler Luke, because he's a kicker, are there any of these other picks that you see being starters, right? Like career starters in the league. Now, it doesn't have to be year one, but we're talking 5-7 year starters, right? Like, is the highest likelihood Teddy? Is it Carson Vincent? Who do you see as guys that have the potential and likelihood of being starters?
I mean, it's at some point really the only one that I was just kind of like, maybe not for me. There was Wester, because I think he's like more special teams value. But I like Teddy. I like Carson Vincent. I like Peebles. For me, was like somebody that I thought could have been like at the top of a rotation. In the right scheme. So those guys, like, I don't know about Longerbeam. He might be more of your nickel down the road. Dellinger, again, if he stays healthy, but at the end of the day, I think there's, a limited ceiling for him. He could be like one of these guys that's a spot starter, bounces around if he stays healthy. But no, I think up and down this board, like there's a lot to like about these players, and a lot of potential to kind of have guys that are going to be mainstays on your roster for a long time.
Wow. Love that. And overall grade, do you want to give us a letter?
I won't, but I'll just say I think this was one of the better drafts, and like it's one of the drafts that I liked the most after I went back and looked at who was picked, especially in the third round. Like we obviously were very focused on the first and the second and the third rounds, but once I went and looked, I was like, okay, this shaped up really nicely for the Ravens. So I think everybody should be happy with it. And even like I said, some of the undrafted guys, I think there's some potential there too for bottom of the roster as well. So
yeah, you mentioned Jared Penning. Quickly, any other names kind of jump out at you as you look? I have the list up here. Hopefully you can see it.
Yeah, no, I noted some when I looked at it earlier. So Penning, we talked about. Yep. Jay Higgins, the linebacker from Iowa. Probably doesn't offer as much from an athletic standpoint as like a Teddy Buchanan, but really smart player, really experienced player from Iowa. Those guys tend to kind of come into the league. They're kind of ready to go. And while they don't have the highest ceiling, like you see those Iowa linebackers, on a lot of rosters. Mm-hmm. So, as a special teams or, kind of rotation, reserve role, those guys tend to stick. So I would look at him as maybe somebody that could be on the roster. A couple of other guys, Keandre Jackson, the safety from Illinois State, was at the Senior Bowl. And so when those smaller school guys get that invite to the Senior Bowl, I think that's worth noting. I don't think I don't remember if he was at the Combine or if he was only at the Pro Day. I don't think he tested very well, but the tape was pretty fun. So he's another one that might be more of a practice squad type. Linebacker Chandler Martin of Memphis was somebody that had a little bit of steam kind of towards the end and ended up not, making it into the draft, but kind of a fly around guy, a little bit undersized, but somebody to keep note of as well as you kind of look at what that linebacker room will ultimately end up being. Again, another probably practice squad candidate, if that. And then another fun one is Thomas Perry, the offensive lineman from Middlebury, who's at the Shrine Bowl, got a lot of love from, the people that were there, and then a little bit online. Call him Thomas the Tank. obviously. So he's he might be more of a center only because, again, another guy is a little undersized, probably doesn't have the length, but tough player and was just stonewalling, guys from like Georgia and, those other schools that were there that had some representation at the Shrine Bowl. So he really kind of made a name for himself there. I was a little surprised he didn't get drafted, but, this wasn't a strong center class and he might be a center only prospect. So, but those were the guys that kind of stood out to me. I think there was a couple more that I just hadn't even heard of. So, you never know who's going to kind of show up and show out and end up, coming away with a spot either on the roster or on the practice squad. So, I'd certainly take note of those names there because you might need to learn them sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's every year not every year, maybe I'm exaggerating, but almost every year the Baltimore Ravens have an undrafted guy that makes the squad. I think, last year, do we have two, Glenn? I know Bo Braid put
Sanusi Kane. No, Kane was 7th round. I
Anyway,
feel like there was more than one. You're right.
I feel like there was two last year. Oh, and Dayton Wade.
Oh, yeah, duh. Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, exactly. So, what's up, DK? I don't know what he's saying. Roster spot? Something about it. Anyway, I'm not terrible at reading lips.
Well, it's not easy. It's a small screen.
I think the point is that, all right, let's see what he's got to say here. Hold on. Practice squad.
Oh, okay. So he's
Practice
saying they
squad.
didn't make the 53.
Okay, that's fair.
Okay.
But I guess that's true. They both saw some time throughout the season. But my point is that, like, every year every other year seemingly at least, we have a guy that, we have the Michael Pierces, the Ardarius Washingtons, add to the list, and there's other names out there. So it'll be exciting to see these guys as well. But glad to hear we got the DRAFTPLEX stamp of approval. That is the only approval that Glenn and I care about when it comes to the NFL draft. So we greatly appreciate it. Certainly, I know that you were pretty excited, I think, about your Cowboys draft as well. But man, I'm interested to see of these 11 how many actually make the roster, because we already got a good football team here, right? So it's gonna be tough sledding for some of these guys. I know injuries happen otherwise, but either way, it's gonna be exciting to see. But I think that's it for us tonight, folks. Unless you got more to get off your chest, Glenn, Jason, DK.
Just got a quick thing, Jimbo. I sent it to Jason. Man, Booker did his interview. They asked him what he likes most about football. Tyler Booker, the one you wanted, and he said, "I like when people are really excited to play the game and they come out and they're real happy, and then I just smash them in the dirt, and then they don't want to be there anymore. That's the part I like the most." I went, God, this is why Jimbo wanted this guy.
Yeah, but I'm excited about Starks.
Oh, for sure. And he wasn't
he should be.
So,
Right, he just wasn't there. Nothing we could have done about it.
But yeah, I was like, oh, this is why Jimmy loves this guy. Like, he's like, what do I like most? Tearing people's spirit down, basically.
It's like, you don't want to like to play football anymore. That's what I like to get out of people.
Absolutely, man.
Making them quit the sport. But thanks again, Jason. Appreciate you coming. Thanks again to Tez as well. And man, it feels weird saying this, but I guess we'll see you next year.
Looks like it. We're gonna shut it down. But yeah, I'm back for another year. I can't go out as a runner-up.
I was second.
It was literally player 101. I had a swap at 97 and 101, and if I would have kept him where he was.
So you'd be on here with the belt holding above your head. Huh?
I would have been ordering another one, but that may be as close as I ever get. But like I'm good. I bumped up to number 8 nationally in that, so I'm like only a point and a half off of Todd McShay, who won it like the last 4 years or whatever it was. So we'll come back around again and have a late in the first pick for the Ravens again, and probably somewhere middle of the road for the Cowboys, as it is par for the course. But yeah, I'll be back doing it again next year. But once we're kind of up and running again, we'll get back in touch and start talking about this 2026 class, whatever that turns out to be. So
let's go. Thanks, man. Have a great evening to yourself and Glenn as well. That's it for us tonight, Ravens flock. See ya.
See you.